morning, everyone. So our next session is Anticipatory Action. Zimbabwe, our speaker is Muzalaban. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Wilson Miaradzi. I work for WHAT under the Open Mapping Map. ISA is the Disaster Service Manager. I'm really excited to take part in this event where I would like to showcase the anticipatory action work that we did in Zarabani as a pilot, where we used open data and tools for disaster preparedness. The reason why we chose Zimbabwe was because of its vulnerability to natural disasters. Traditionally, most of you are aware that our approach has been reactive, often responding to disasters after they occur. We realized this method has implications on the communities and results in loss of lives and property itself. This prompted us to pilot this project in Zimbabwe. Our objectives were centered on understanding gaps in anticipatory planning that could be addressed using geospatial data. For tools and infrastructure, we wanted to understand gaps in the data tools and infrastructure to support anticipatory action. We also wanted to catalyze opportunities for co-creation of activities with several other organizations that are into disaster risk reduction. The idea was to start small, then actively engage with organizations responsive to disasters to amplify our understanding of how open mapping data and tools can support disaster response and planning. We had several engagements to identify stakeholders, and we did a scoping mission to identify an area of interest, and also we came up with a data model and did some data collection and analyzed the data itself. A national multi-stakeholder engagement workshop was held in Harare, where we identified Carter Zimbabwe as one of the potential organizations to co-implement the program with. The scoping mission was meant to identify areas to pilot the program with Carter Zimbabwe, as well as partners on the ground, and also to seek green light from the local authority to do the training and mapping exercise. We settled from Zarabani because of its vulnerability to persistent and recurring natural hazards. Stakeholders guided data model development through identification of relevant information that needed to be collected on ODK to enhance their disaster response efforts. We picked on health facilities, markets, shops, water and sanitation facilities, as well as flood-prone sections. Such efforts included identification of ideal shops that would potentially offer cash voucher assistance whenever a disaster occurs. In addition, we also used this to identify facilities that could be used as evacuation centers in case of a disaster, so that they can accommodate displaced persons, and determination of evacuation routes as well. We had a one-day training where we trained participants in the use of mobile data collection tools such as ODK, and also mapping using GoPro cameras, such as the 360 mapillary mapping. All the participants were deployed to do data collection within the field for a specified period of time, focusing on the 5 pilot wards. Map products were developed, both static and interactive, that were used to inform evidence and decision-making in disaster risk management. And they were in 2 forms: general reference maps and thematic maps. The general reference maps provided a general overview and understanding of the existence and distribution of relevant points of interest, whereas the thematic maps showcased information on communities exposed to disasters, their vulnerabilities and adaptive capacities to such disasters based on spatial analysis that was carried out. The program itself was very impactful in the sense that there were some data-driven decisions that were made. Example, multi-hazard contingent plans were developed to enhance disaster planning for the district. There were several evacuation centers that were identified. A good example is Kairezi School, which Caritas later on rehabilitated to accommodate people with disabilities in case of disasters. Unique feature of this initiative as well was the incorporation of participatory mapping, wherein the stakeholders provided feedback on the map products to ensure accuracy and relevance of the data and maps that we produced. There was also value addition to programming of Caritas, which prompted them to scale up the program in Bire in the Rushinge district. I thank you. Have a nice day.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So, my name is Hari Mahardika. I'm Senior Program Manager for Open Mapping Hub Asia Pacific. So, in this opportunity, I would like to share with all of you one of our works in Asia Pacific related to the anticipatory actions in Timor-Leste. So, before we started this initiative, there were a couple of questions that we had. So, first, what if the place that we are looking for could not really be found in any map? Not because it's really hidden out of nowhere, but because it's never mapped. And the second question is, what if the people who live in those areas really needed to be mapped? How can we really locate them? How to reach out to them in this context, especially in the context or the situations of disaster? So, starting from those questions, Open Mapping Hub Asia Pacific collaborated with Red Cross Climate Center and CVTL, or Timor-Leste Red Cross, created one of the pilot project in the country to do some anticipatory mapping in 4 locations in Timor-Leste. So, based on those questions, Timor-Leste, it's not really well mapped, but actually the country itself, it's really having a relatively high risk of disaster because it's will influenced by the El Nino in the short-term oscillation. Also, the demographic situations where most of the people still grapples with the poverty, and if there is a disaster happens, there are estimated 70% of the populations will be vulnerable to the climate-related disaster. In this project, we did some of the project approach related to the how to not only enhancing the base map data of OpenStreetMap, but also to capture the local knowledge of the people who living in those areas. Because capturing the local knowledge will also provide not only the complete base map, but also accurate up-to-date maps that can empower people with the resources to also safeguard their lives and livelihood. Uh, and there are 3 general activity that we did in this project. First is remote mapping. So we using hot tasking manager to remotely map the project areas, and also the data that collected is are going to build a very good foundations for the following field mapping activities. And in the field mapping activities, so we collect all the critical informations that can be used for further analysis when disaster happen, such as building conditions, building height, building material, and we capture all of those using Kobo Toolbox. We also collected some of the historical flood or disaster event with the community. So we conducted couple of discussions with them. We using sketch tool so we can capture where is the area that had affected by a previous flood event. This is going to be really helping us to design a very comprehensive map, and as well as really show what is the best decisions for the people for the future actions. This is one of the example of the resulted map from the activity. This is more like a community map. So this map it's actually show like overlaying the critical infrastructure with the previous hazard flood map and combining with the local knowledge of community, it's really important because it can really stress that the people who really receiving the early warning would be having more advantage to taking the early actions to reducing the potential loss of the really asset of their life. So this map it's really created using the local language. It's called Tetum, and we also provide the QR code so you can also scan it later, so you can find the whole area of the analysis itself in OpenStreetMap. And the impact, of course, we not only creating the potential impact of a flood overlay with the building and the roads, but we also creating the potential impact of the how bad the flood or the potential disaster that happen in this area can really affected the livelihood of the people. So all these kind of informations it's really essential because it's going to be help the better early warning system and better early action protocol if you're talking about anticipatory actions, so we can really reducing the potential loss of the people who living in those areas. And not only we completed the data and we use it for analysis, we also open the data for everyone, so who really want to using the data for disaster or other purposes, and you can download those data in our humanitarian data exchange platform. So we still aiming to make it accessible for everyone. I think that's something that I could share for today. Thank you for your participation and attentions. Hopefully to see you again. Goodbye. See ya.
It rainy now. When the lake is full and they bar the connection of the lake and the sea, when it goes about, let's say, 2 hours walk from Robertsport on the beach, that the water from the lake, from the lake cannot easily go in the sea. Then it start, coming up and it overflow the town. I can remember in the 60s, the plane used to land, they had the airstrip on the field, but that part now is way in the sea. Yeah, market going up when the wind fall heavy like that. You see the water say it not drop from here, the water can come from under the ground. When it come like that, it can take the whole prayer. But certain time when the wind sees down like that, it can go down. That's the way I own the area looking now. But when the water they be really through all like that, you see the water be coming from under the ground, boom, 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 coming like that. Then the whole fair will be with water. The 3 years all we hear now. Every day we dipping water. So now the rain heavy like that, we'll be dipping water all day.
For the past 6 years ago, the sea was far off from the horses that were built. But today, more horses will move on the beach because of the flood coming in. If you go there, you will see a cool story who the sea have already taken from there. And for the lake, we noticed that because of the cutting down of the mangrove, so when the rain fall, the lake swell up and come inland.
The sea affected me and my family. My business that I doing the sea came first. It was far away from us, but it came first. When it came, it bust my kitchen first. But I was stay there because I was not getting here now to be again. So I was stay there. When it came for the second time, it came with force. It came, it was taller than the house. It came in the house, but it came, it was in the day. It was going to be in the day. Maybe my children and myself were going to live on it. But it came in the day. When it came in the day, like, to run, no way to go take anything in the house. So it came, it swallowed the whole house, it bust everything. Even my fishing thing in the house, it took it, it bury it the same because it can come with sin. It bury everything. So nothing I never took from any house.
The project was designed to work with national actors and the community themselves. And so what we were able to do in terms of bringing the communities or the stakeholders, which include the national actor and the community together, was to reach out to them, bring them together into a focus group discussions, into workshops where we kind of sat with them, and then the issue of flooding and how it's impacting their life were discussed, and then we called the real story for them aside from what we did in our test review. So they told us, they spoke about directly how flood is affecting their lives and what are interventions that could be made. And for sure they recognize the tracking flood project as one key intervention at the community level. Even at the state national actor level, that is the National Disaster Management, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, they were all happy. They are happy with the project because for them, data is inaccessible in Liberia. So seeing the tracking flow in Liberia project, providing data that can help them to inform development decision, they were very happy about the project.
Without accurate data, we either do the wrong thing or we do nothing. So no decision has been made either by us or any other actor without first getting data. We do not have the scientific capability to be able to associate this flood to what the causes are. So if HUT does that for us and gives us this information, it enables us as actors to plan better.
Well, really, we need data. If we even want to work with partners, or if we want to identify, let's say, the type of disaster that will be taking place or the magnitude of the disaster, we need the data and we need the maps. And we cannot, let's say, better thank you for producing such, because those are gaps, serious gaps in disaster management. And if an entity or organization can help in that aspect, that will be very beneficial to our fight when we are fighting disaster.
Capacity of technical stakeholders were enhanced, while data and map products are now at the disposal of decision makers, thereby addressing their data needs to enforce their disaster resilience, their disaster preparedness, their disaster response efforts to better support communities and find more sustainable approaches to mitigating the issues of flooding and climate change across Liberia.